So what is up, everybody? This is going to be fantastic. First episode of the 5. Bringing everybody together here, this team, this panel of covering basic topics, current event topics, and what we can learn from it when it comes to game and just dating in general. And so I want to hand it off right now. I see Brad at the top left. How about you go ahead and introduce yourself first?
Yeah, you got it. What's up, guys? My name is Brad. Kind of newer to the space, but essentially my story in a very brief nutshell. I got divorced in my late 20s to the only woman I'd ever been with in my life. And I essentially told myself it was going to be my life's mission to learn how to get good with girls, get lots of girls. And so I started dabbling a lot in the pickup community, doing lots of boot camps, and eventually helping out the guys who ran the boot camps and taught me a lot. And now I'm just super passionate about this stuff. I love talking about it. I love helping out other guys, fix their mindset, fix their game, fix their techniques. And yeah, we just talk about this shit forever.
Good stuff. Kevin, what about yourself? I don't know who you are.
No? You think my own audience doesn't know who I am either? Regardless, I'll give an intro. So I'm Kevin Ray Wilder. I focus on overall self-development, more specifically, I guess if I had to say a specialty, I would say philosophy and fitness. I've been a personal trainer for 10 years. And interestingly enough, I came into the whole dating space because I just noticed with a lot of different guys, it's one of those unspoken things where the reason that they were focusing so much on self-development is because they wanted to get more pussy. They just didn't have the courage to actually say it. And, we go from a Maslow's hierarchy of needs standpoint. You can't focus on self-actualization if you don't have your physiological and emotional needs met. And, so inevitably, as part of self-development, I ended up having to cover these topics. And during that time, I really started to discover how much of an impact the incel epidemic actually is. It's not just like a meme or like a funny meme. It's actually like a very serious issue. And so I find myself a lot of times covering things like the black pill, for example, and just trying to be a solution to that, just helping guys not go nihilistic. Because if you go nihilistic about your dating life, you're probably going to go nihilistic in other areas of your life, and that's no good. So
beautiful. So let me introduce myself. I'm Huds. I've been a dating coach for a while now. I focus a lot with older divorced men, but I help everybody. I've helped 3 guys in 2020 go ahead and lose their virginity, which is awesome. And this stuff is so simple once you figure it out. But it's the actually being able to have a healthy relationship is hard. So work a lot with that. Have a little bit of content, but I do mostly one-on-one coaching. And I'm happy to bring everybody together here. So let's move to you, Hayden.
My name's Avery. I coach cold approach pickup, which is approaching strangers that you don't know and trying to make something happen from that. And I do that because I was naturally very socially awkward. When I was 18, I was actually diagnosed with panic disorder, social anxiety. So if you think you have approach anxiety, like you see a hot girl and you feel hesitation, I have that like naturally 10 times what you could imagine. I've literally called the ambulance once. That's how bad it was. So I came from a very bad starting point. I was 19. I hadn't kissed a girl. I was a virgin, very awkward. My crush in high school literally laughed at me at one point, laughed in my face. So that's the kind of reaction I was used to. Then I went down the rabbit hole of all this pickup content. And it took a long time, but eventually I started getting it handled, and I do all right now.
Hell yeah.
Cool. I guess I'll go next. Avery's being modest. He does more than all right. My name is Alex. I run the channel called Playing with Fire, and we basically focus on giving no bullshit, practical, straightforward dating advice. So we try to do like very straightforward, non-biased, non-judgmental type of videos and instructional to help guys get real results.
Good stuff. Yeah, no, I'm so happy to have such a mix of people coming together here. And so today's topic, obviously I know it's beating a dead horse, but at the same time, 1 week later, what can we learn from this whole Will Smith situation? And as we've seen, since all of that has happened, he's walked back, he's apologized, he's stepped down from the academy. What are your guys' impressions on this whole thing? Like, this has been so much.
I think the big lesson that should we go in like should we because we
no, it's fine. Just go.
Like,
yeah.
Okay.
No, we don't need to.
All right. I think the big lesson that not a lot of people are talking about is that built-up emotions and resentment will come out later on in life. So this whole issue dates back, years ago, decades ago. You can see during the Red Table interview that I analyzed that he had a lot of anger and resentment. Like you could tell it when he talked. He was holding it all inside, and he snapped. And it was only a matter of, it's not a matter of if, it was a matter of when. So I think that once you in your relationship and you start to let shit slide and you start making compromises over and over again, and you're like, well, she banged my kid's best friend, but she didn't bang my kid or something like that. Like you start making these rationalizations, it's going to come back to bite you in the ass. And frankly, he should have ended that relationship ages ago. But he didn't. And, this is, again, Chris Rock was just basically a case of shoot the messenger. Like he just took out his frustration on a person who, is not the culprit here. I'm not even saying she's necessarily the culprit. I don't know their personal relationship, but honestly, I think, the fault is with him for staying in a situation that's, frankly, sounds miserable. And again, you can make the argument that, whatever, he was cool with it, fine. But if you watch that interview, you can see all the built up anger in his tone. So clearly he's not happy about the situation, no matter what he says in subsequent interviews.
Yeah, I mean, he basically just
I'm done with her.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he laughs when he's like, I was done with her. He you can hear the strain in his voice trying to keep his cool, which I don't know I think she put him in that situation, which was very awkward, right? To just air that all in front of public. But the fact that he slapped Chris Rock in public, it makes you wonder what their dynamic is like in private, because that's how bad it is in public. So in private, he talked about how he was done with her. He resented her. I've been in the kind of relationship where you're in a relationship out of guilt because you feel you owe her something, especially if you have a family, you're going to feel like you owe her something. And in that case, that's a unique situation, right? But you can tell it is so miserable to be in that situation. And society teaches men that you're supposed to just tolerate it, put up with it, and accept that. And that's just your life. And this is an example of what happens when you do that for years and years, what it really looks like.
Yeah. I want to say first and foremost, I think Huds, you and I can agree here that us as Philly boys, we don't claim Will Smith after this incident at all. He can stay over there in California, actually, where you're from, Brad. So you can
hang out with me. Me and Will,
yeah.
We're besties. So
yeah, you can claim him. Us Philly boys don't claim him. Yeah, I think it's a classic case of just projection, right? So whatever internal demons he was having, obviously you can't go and strike your wife. I don't know. Maybe he did. Who knows? Maybe it was who knows? Probably not. But I'm sure there's some part of every guy where basically when essentially he was cucked in a way, right? He probably, being a dude, he probably wanted to beat someone up over it, and just all in that moment, it's just everything he just projected all of that onto Chris Rock's face, and then he just proceeded to slap it. And it's funny, I found it very interesting. Maybe we can cover this of after he slapped him and then he walked off the stage, he didn't look angry. He looked proud. Do you guys notice that? He had this kind of smirk of I just did that.
He looked proud. He looked proud, and Jada also started laughing. So it was just
I didn't know that. That's that's
I didn't
just
know that either.
Yeah. So but it almost seemed like she had a reserved laugh. It didn't happen until he sat back down. But it's almost, I imagine it. I was listening to something somebody had said where, we don't know exactly what happened because it happened so quick. And Alex, as you were saying, it was like a snap. And that snap could have been her, with that stern look that she always has, and kicking him underneath the table or something and encouraging him to go up there. And then after that happened, he comes back feeling all proud. She's laughing because she was able to make him go do that and make himself look like a fool. And then the whole thing just like comes down as this entire mess.
Yeah, and like, because I like what Alex said about it was something that was like pent up essentially, right? Like a lot of the original takes were like, oh well, at first he laughed, then Jada gave him the look, and then he went. So it was like Jada was like telling him or sicking him on it. It's like, no, I don't think that's what it was. It was just like Alex said, like that thing had been built up for so long. Something else, really, it was just the straw that broke the camel's back. It wasn't this particular incident that was so bad for him. It was that he had been feeling this way for so long. And then when he finally does that, and yeah, he walks off the stage, he seems proud or whatever, but I don't think even in his own mind, he doesn't realize that wasn't like the manly masculine thing to do at the time. It's like, when a guy first learns that, oh, to be a man, I need to stand up for myself and be assertive. So they just start asserting themselves all over the place and in horribly wrong contexts. That's really kind of how I saw it, was he was trying to reclaim like his masculinity in some kind of way, but it just came off like, yeah, dude, you're whipped by your girl. And that's why you did that.
You know what it's like? Have you ever seen where a girl who has a boyfriend, she's like flirting with you, or maybe she's even making out with you, and then the boyfriend comes up, he's not pissed at her.
No, he's
pissed
at
you.
No.
You don't owe him anything. You don't know they're in a relationship. Doesn't matter. But he has to direct that rage in a direction that is societally acceptable. And directing at a woman, like he's so mad he wants to hit her and he knows he can't. So the only way to channel that rage is towards the other guy. So I think that's what's happening here. I think he has a lot of rage towards her. He can't channel it towards her. And so he's got to take it somewhere, right? He's got to take it somewhere.
Yeah, I think
in
another
a parallel universe somewhere, Will Smith actually just turned around and slapped Jada instead of Chris.
That would have been awesome.
That would have been awesome. Sorry, go ahead, Alex.
I think another two things that are pretty telling is in the Red Table interview, Jada says, yeah, when we got married, you told me that you will love me no matter what I do, or something like that. I might be slightly butchering a few words. And then, so basically he's saying like, hey, you can do whatever the fuck you want. And, my love is not conditional, which is, not a good thing to have. Imagine that in like, let's say me and Avery were business partners. I'm like, Avery, we're going to be partners no matter what you do. You can steal money. You can withhold funds. You can fuck me over. You can lie to me. We're always going to be business partners. Like this, just setting things up.
Like it.
The second thing is in a different interview, he says, I don't believe in divorce. Divorce is for quitters. I'm never going to quit. Again, he's so, Jada, and this is probably not conscious, probably subconscious. She sees that, listen, this guy is not willing to walk away no matter what I do. So I can really push his buttons. Because again, I think the key thing for a relationship is having that willingness to walk away. Doesn't mean you have to use it at the first sign of problem. You can, try to make things work. But having a willingness to walk away is going to preempt a lot of these issues. Because again, your girlfriend on a subconscious level, unless she's super self-aware, which most people are not, and she can keep her subconscious in check, they're going to push the buttons and they're going to see, okay, this guy's not willing to walk away. Okay, I have a lot more free reign in that relationship. There's no sense of loss, that there's no opportunity cost to her, fucking up. So I think that's problematic in of itself.
So what do you think then? What leads a guy like Will Smith to get to a point where he's going to tell a guy who could literally probably have any girl in his prime, why does he tell a woman you can do whatever you want? Is that just some kind of idealistic notion of romance he has in his head? Like what causes
he probably takes his own movies seriously. He's probably like watching Hitch and like, oh, this is what I said in Hitch. I don't know. Probably just these odd Hollywood notions. Maybe he didn't have like a positive role model growing up. I don't really know much about his childhood.
Well, actually,
you know what? I think
one
it's
thing I want to
really...
mention.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Kevin. But one thing I want to mention. So actually, like when he started to take that notion and started to think that way, I believe that one of his first girlfriends back in high school had cheated on him. And so it completely like spun him out. Like, so the beginning of Hitch, when you see him getting cheated on, and that's when he decided to like become the dating coach. That's why he was a perfect fit for the role, because that's what actually happened to him in real life. And so I think that has something to do with it as well.
Yeah. I didn't know that he got cheated on when he was in high school. I think it's really telling, actually. Whoever mentioned it earlier about the fact that he said, "Oh, you should never give up on a marriage." And Brad, you talked about idealism, and we talked in this space about like blue pill, red pill, whatnot. There's these sort of values that we are basically implanted in our brains from the time that we're kids. So we have these unconscious beliefs that we just assume are self-evident, but in reality, they're not. They're other people's ideas. And I think it's really telling that he said something very blue-pilled, like you're always going to work through a marriage no matter what. And also he probably has a blue-pilled mindset when it comes to dating as a whole, right? So it doesn't surprise me that he kind of acted the way he did, Now it is surprising, and there's some people in the comments also saying like, "Was it this was fake?" Honestly, when I first saw the slap, I thought it was fake because Chris Rock took it so well. But then when you actually slow it down, he did actually hit him. Like it looked like one of those like acting jobs, the way that he like reacted to it. But no, I think it was definitely real because the reason I think it's real. I saw somebody break this down and it made sense to me is. There's no plausible deniability of like, oh, was it real? Was it fake? That all went away when he sat back down and he started saying, "Don't," whatever the hell he said.
He cursed.
Get your wife, my wife's name.
Keep my wife's name out of your mouth.
Keep fucking my wife's mouth.
Keep fucking my wife. That's to someone else. That's so different. That message to someone else.
I think we can all agree that the single greatest thing to come out of this is the memes, for sure. The memes this week have been nothing short of glorious.
Will stands back up to go slap Chris Rock again, and then you see that he has a freaking raging hard on.
That'd be funny.
Please fuck my wife. In the mouth. I mean, please don't. Honestly, I like to feel like I don't have control.
When he was sitting there, yelling at Chris Rock, like, just holding back the tears. Like, I don't know, man. I really felt that because I've kind of been in an almost similar situation. Like I briefly mentioned at the beginning, when my marriage ended in my late 20s. Yeah, man, like I know that fucking fury, like where like you can't do anything, like you have no way to release that. You're just holding something like so traumatizing deep inside. Like to me, it didn't look fake at all.
Nah, no way. He cursed on national television. Like there's no way the Oscars would have ever agreed to plan that because that hurts their money, because that hurts all their advertising contracts and stuff. So that's like the slap maybe, but then the cursing, no way. No way would the Oscars ever like go along with that. Yeah, I don't think it's fake. I was saying this on a podcast I was on last night. In the 0.00001% chance that Will Smith ever watches this is my advice to him. Post an Instagram post with your Oscar and say, any cute girls in the LA area want to help me play with this thing or polish this thing. Bang like 20, 30 hot Instagram girls and then see how you feel about your marriage afterwards. If you want to stay with her after that, then kudos to you. But, I think he needs like some perspective, honestly.
It's interesting. I saw somebody, and I think it was just kind of like a joke comment, but I saw somebody say something about, like Will's just like gay. I wonder because no man with that much power would ever stand up for that type of disrespect.
I gotta disagree with you on that.
I don't know.
I've seen, I've banged, like I live in Miami and I've banged some rich dudes' wives who are like super powerful and shit. And dude, the stories I fucking hear are like even worse than that. Like a lot of these dudes who are super rich and successful, they have the worst self-esteem ever. They think they're pieces of shit. They have imposter syndrome. They don't feel like they deserve it. They get totally degraded by their wives, way worse than Will does. Like they have all these weird cuck fantasies. So I don't know, man. I've seen plenty of other people in that position who have the same issues as him, if not worse.
You have to keep in mind, some women are very good at emotional manipulation, and some relationships turn into Stockholm syndrome. I've seen this with a couple friends who have dated. Actually, they're both still dating these girls who are strippers. Some of the things I can't even repeat. Some of the things that they did to these men, but threats of suicide, fake pregnancies, calling the cops, false accusations of physical abuse. And these men because there's these intense highs, when you have these intense lows, the sex afterwards, like really amazing, it addicts you. It's very easy to get addicted to that. And so then you convince yourself, oh, it's going to get good again. And it's just like a drug addiction. So women who are very manipulative also give you the highest highs, which makes it very easy to get caught in that. I've had a girl that I dated that, and sometimes was great, but then she literally tried to jump out of a car in the highway. She took off her seatbelt, and I don't know if she would have done it. Probably not. But she made me think she opened the door and like started trying to get out. I had to hold her back in the car. And after that, I stayed with her for like another year because I thought she was literally going to kill herself if I broke up with her. So sometimes the blue pill mindset, it's not even necessarily society as a whole. It's that the relationship itself, women know that back in the day, men had a certain leverage that they don't have now, which, look, I mean, they shouldn't have the leverage of like, wife beating or anything. I agree with that. But they know you can't do shit. So they can be very good at drawing investment from you using manipulation. And my guess is that their home life is probably pretty awful. They probably barely have sex. They probably don't like each other, but they have these rationalizations and these good memories of when it used to be nice that keeps them together.
Dude, I have a really interesting. Okay, you can go ahead, Brad. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna ask. So when because we want to talk about lessons we can learn from this. Knowing that, a lot of women do know this, like we do have no course of retaliation, at least not the way men used to a while ago. What's a good way to conduct yourself in relationships now so that you can best avoid situations like that when you don't have the opportunity to react the way we might have a couple 100 years ago?
Having a willingness to walk away and having clear boundaries. Like, depends on the boundary that's being crossed. But I think for me, if Natty banged my dad's friend or something like that, I guess that would be the equivalent. There would be no second chance. That would be the end of that relationship. I mean, if a girl does something minor, like, maybe you catch her in a small lie, then you give her like a clear warning, like, hey, listen, like, I don't appreciate that. And if you do that again, our relationship is over. But having clear boundaries that you will stick to. I mean, for me, again, like banging one of my friends, that's a clear boundary. There's no second chance after that, So, yeah, I mean, I think that's the issue is when guys don't have boundaries. I think your most powerful tool is your willingness to walk away. It's not your hands, it's not your words, it's your ability to walk away. And if you don't have that, then like you're fucked. Like, like unless the girl is super altruistic and super self-aware, you're gonna get walked over. And it might not be that she's even a bad girl. It might just be that she's a human being, and human beings are opportunistic. And you have to protect yourself and have a willingness to walk away. That's what Will Smith is lacking. That's what a lot of guys lack nowadays. They'll just put up with shit over and over again. I remember one time, dude, I always tell this story because it's so crazy. I was at Whole Foods. This was like 6 years ago too. And I saw this like really fucking gross fat chick, and with no homo, a really hot guy. Like this guy was like a Chad, right? Like really good looking, and he was like, the conversation was so ridiculous. It was like, hey, babe, do you want to maybe get a salad over there? It was like something super nice. And she's like, what, are you fat shaming me? Huh? You're fat shaming me because I'm going to eat, because I want to eat a burger? Huh? Is that what you're going to do? And
she's in the right, bro.
She was like mocking him because he was like trying to help her like be healthier. And I like was this close to going up to them and being like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Scream help, please. Like there's hope. Like you don't have to put up with this fatty. But guys will put up with a lot of shit. It's crazy.
So there's something I want to say about that.
I should have.
About Alex specifically. Because you mentioned boundaries. There's a boundary that I believe you have that you didn't mention that is super important. And it's the common thread between all the relationships I see falling apart at the seams. Not living with a chick unless you've decided to start a family. Right? Not living with her, being very careful with living with a girl. Because all the relationships I've seen that got really, really toxic, living with each other, for one, it kills the mystery and like sexual attention, and it causes this level of resentment because you're just always around them. You have no space. And it's a mistake I've seen a lot of guys make that just ruins relationships. Even if they might have been pretty good, when you're living with someone too soon, it causes too much pressure. It's too much, like it feels like you can't escape kind of thing. So I've seen that cause a lot of relationships to fall apart. And I think the other is to be very careful with committing, right? Making that commitment that we're monogamous or we're together. Wait 6 months for that. Wait a while for that, because the honeymoon phase, that's a real thing. That's a very real thing. And after those initial hormones go away, that's when you know what the relationship will really be like. And that doesn't happen for like 3-6 months.
Can I quickly address something in the comments? Vega, and I see her quite often in the chat. She seems like I think it's a chick. She seems cool. But some marriages are more of a business. Let's not compare our lives to that of celebs. Yeah, if it's a business, that's the worst business deal ever. So what's in it for him? He gets publicly embarrassed. He gets kicked off the Oscars. Like, this is the worst business. Like, if we think about it, like, okay, Will Smith is just in it as like a business exchange, and that's the worst business deal in the history of business deals. If anything, it makes more sense to be for him to be with her out of like some blue pill notions of love than as like a business transactions, because it's a business transaction where he only loses. Like, he keeps losing.
Well, especially, I think it'd be maybe different if Jada Pinkett was like this household name and it was like a combining of these two powerful celebrities.
Yeah, nobody
knew who Jada Pinkett was. Like, who's Jada Pinkett Smith? Oh, it's Will Smith's wife.
Some
like,
chick that used to bang
that's
Tupac. That's like the only thing she's known for.
Yeah, exactly. I want to propose something really quickly because I was thinking about this, and maybe it's possible maybe not just us, but a lot of people are looking at this all wrong. Maybe somebody's already proposed this idea, but is it possible that because Will Smith, now I don't know his entire history with his girlfriends and whatnot, but is it possible that because he's had it so easy with all these different girls, right? I mean, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, super popular, one of the world's most famous rappers back when he was younger, he has these girls just throwing themselves at him. Is it possible that Jada, like, because Jada gives off this vibe of like super like alpha female, like boss bitch type of whatever energy, right? Even just her face, she has like a very like serious face. Is it possible that he was attracted, like, because if you just have it easy basically your whole life with girls, right? And then all of a sudden you have this like alpha female that just stands out from everything else, right? We know with human beings, we always want to have novel experiences, novel things. Is it possible that Will Smith was kind of drawn into that, and secretly, because he always had it easy with his sex life, now that it's like kind of tough and it's a challenge that like either turned him on or like that's something that he wanted to do? And one more thing on top of that, I know I'm saying a lot here. Is it possible that, because Will Smith, I just imagine he's a competitive guy, right? You need to be a pretty competitive guy to be as successful as he is. Is it possible that, his ego, because he hasn't really lost in any area of his life, when he starts losing his marriage, he's just like, no, I'm freaking Will Smith. I'm going to make this work. Right. Is that possible? I don't know. I mean, those are just some of the thoughts that I was thinking of.
So that's one thing that I've been tackling right now, because I've been working with some guys who have that like different mindset. They want the alpha female in their life. They don't want to be the leader. And I know that like in certain relationships, at least, BDSM relationships, things like that, it's what's called a switch, where like you are the dominant most of the time, and then you become the submissive in the bedroom. And so I'm wondering if it's something like that, where it's like an internal battle with himself, and he may have just gone the wrong direction.
She's the only chick willing to peg Will Smith.
Yeah,
I
the only one willing not to simp for him.
Yeah, this is all possible, I guess. I mean, based on my personal experience and based on most guys that I speak to, like, yeah, we don't tend to be drawn to that type. Like, I definitely prefer a more feminine, submissive girl who lets me lead and wants me to and enjoys that. Like, I get no like attraction to like that alpha female. I mean, unless it's maybe to try to get a one night lay out of her or something, but like definitely wouldn't want to be with that long term. Never.
There's actually a funny statistic about that, though. I remember from human sexuality class, men who are very high level, like CEOs, extremely rich, actually are more inclined to be into dominatrixes, because like in every area of their life, they have all the power and they're used to being in complete control. And so for them, it's like a form of a release to be able to be with someone who's in control of them, because they're always telling their employees what to do. They're telling everyone what to do. And so it's like a form of escapism. So it's actually statistically more likely for someone at the highest level to be into that.
Well, if that's the case, then maybe that makes sense.
It could be then, yeah.
Will Smith, yeah.
Do you think it's a correlation or causation thing? Meaning people who are at the top, they have because a dominatrix is probably very expensive because they have the money to afford one, versus like the dudes who are like lower on, maybe they want one, but they can't afford it. Do you think that could be a thing?
Well, if I remember correctly, and look, I mean, you could Google it, but I believe we're talking about like the top of like very high level. We're not talking we're talking top 1% versus everyone else, not just poor people or something.
But that's Will Smith, isn't it? I mean, he's not just the top 1%. He's the top 1% of Hollywood, which is already the top 1%. So, I mean, maybe there's something to that. The fact that
there is,
know,
there is.
he-
I want
yeah.
to speak on this, Kevin. I apologize for cutting you off.
No,
but
go ahead.
I gotta speak on this. When you have so many things going on, I see this time and time again. It's not just men; it's women as well. When they have to do too many things, Avery, fuck you. When you have so many things that you have to manage at once, there is a release by having all control taken away. Like I'm going to be doing a course at the end of the month on rope tying. I don't know if you guys know shibari and whatnot, but there's just something to it that helps people that have too much that they have to handle just release. And that could be it as well. Like Will Smith's expectations are so high. I can totally see that.
Deborah has a good
also-
comment. Is it possible that he's fixated on her banging Tupac that he gets to do it too by proxy?
I mean, I think the
I think
second
we
half
all
is funny, but the first half might actually be true. Like the idea that like this very infamous person that she seduced him is kind of could be seductive. Like the idea that I'm dating the girl that banged fucking Tupac and locked him down for a while. as far
Yeah,
as-
I get Tupac's sloppy seconds.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, but then also she also banged like her son's best friend. So I think she was just going around
No,
flinging
Kevin,
her pussy around Hollywood.
it was just an entanglement. You don't understand.
Totally different.
But
though.
really
Who are all
quickly,
these
I don't
dudes
know
that are willing
who's-
to bang Jada. She's like a 3 at best.
Yeah, I don't get that either. And like even to the point earlier about whether or not he was drawn to that more kind of like alpha female type energy. Sure, maybe you could be drawn to him, but why would he continuously stay? Clearly that was a man in pain at the Oscars. So
Yeah,
like
but
the mystery's got to be gone, right?
She
another
must be
thing
really
too-
good at sucking dick or something.
Maybe she is. Maybe
must
she's
be.
the best.
Well, she is. She looks like a demon, so maybe she's got like
grabbing that bald head.
Yeah,
The semen demon.
yeah. I mean, she looks like an alien, so she probably has these out of the what is it? Out of this world blowjobs. But okay. I'm gonna see myself out. I'm out of here. I'm never gonna make some cringy dad joke like that again. I apologize. Anyway,
I'm making that into a
Alex
YouTube
E.
short. I got you.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, you make it to a short. Kevin Ray Wilder exposed for being.
I mean, I guess at the end of the day, we'll
He's
never
pathetic.
know.
All
'Cause
right.
a lot of this is just speculation on our part. And any one of these could potentially be true. I mean, I guess the Tupac thing is probably the least likely, but that could theoretically be true. It could be that he's secretly a sub. It could be that he's just a blue pill dude. I guess that, we'll never really know unless.
Well, I think this is.
And even if he comes forward, his story keeps changing about the open marriage. So it's like how much of it is true and how much of it is post fact justification.
Have you? Yeah, that's a good point, man. Have you guys seen that show Billions before?
I have
Okay, so
not. I've been told to watch.
It's an
it
amazing
1,000
show,
times.
but basically in the show Billions, I mean, it's not much of a spoiler because they cover it in like the very first scene. But the main character, Paul Giamatti, is like a very powerful lawyer. His name's Chuck Rhodes, and he has like a dominatrix wife. And eventually down the line, spoiler alert, but eventually down the line, the public kind of finds out about it. And then they have to like cover it up and all this other types of stuff. I think it's entirely possible that Will Smith, because it's Will Smith, right? You look at his other life accomplishments. I just think it's interesting. It's possible, of course, but I think it's possible that he knew exactly what. Not only did he not know exactly what was going on, but he liked it. He was turned on by it, right? But the fact that now that it's out in public, it's embarrassing, right? So he actually liked the fact that his wife was going around banging other dudes. Somehow that maybe turned him on or something, because also at the same time it allowed him to go bang other girls, right? But now that people found that out, and especially because Will Smith is supposed to be like the family friendly rapper guy, he always plays the good guy in the movie. It tarnishes his public image, right? And these Hollywood types are very, very sensitive, ego driven people. So it's possible that Will Smith was not only fine with this, he loved it, similar to how Chuck Rose did in Billions. But then once it was publicly exposed, he started to act irrationally because he's like, well, my public image, I'm freaking Will Smith. I'm the man. Now people are questioning my masculinity. People are questioning my good guy persona. Now I'm freaking pissed. Right. So it's possible. I mean, look, we're never going to know at the end of the day of these things, but I think somebody maybe brought it up a bit earlier of like celebrities and like maybe, our celebrities are our way of trying to, in a way, like it helps us relate to each other because we all were like, oh, we all know this celebrity, right? But the reality is those types of people are just living such different lives than the rest of us. It's really tough to speculate what's actually going on. So,
well, speak for yourself, Kevin. I'm
anything.
coming up on 100K. Okay, so I'm basically as famous as Will Smith. So
yeah, Alex, you're my favorite Q list celebrity, bro.
Q list.
So,
I'm
so
like,
we're gonna have some.
I think I'm on like the Z
future.
list right now. I'm like a Z list celebrity. You're like a Q list. So
Q list. QAnon.
Alex, maybe you can take on Jada once Will's done with her. You can see how that goes.
I don't think I'm worthy to fill Tupac's shoes. I mean, my rap's pretty good, but I think Tupac's got me beat a little bit.
You guys
try to get her on your Casting Couch podcast show.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be fun.
I mean, I would love to get Will Smith on. Not that he would ever do it, but it'd be funny. Like, imagine Will Smith is like he's having breakfast with his kid. He's like, "Yo, take a look at this. What's this, Dad? Oh, it's a video of mommy blowing your friend. Look at this. This is awesome." He's like, "Dad, I don't want to see this again."
Dude, those Hollywood people, man, you never know, dude. I'm telling you, like, it's one of those things too. It's like, all right, so with people's porn watching habits, right? Apparently it just becomes more extreme over time. I used to have a severe porn addiction. My channel used to be all about NoFap, and one of the things that made me realize that, this is a problem was I just started to watch more and more extreme shit. So imagine if you're somebody like Will Smith, like from the time that you were, I don't know when he became famous, but like he could get any girl that he wants, right? Yeah. I mean, progressively over time, you want to have more novel sexual experiences. I think it maybe makes sense that eventually you get to the point where you're just like, well, I can fuck any girl that I want. The only thing that turns me on is watching girls, the girl that I like fuck another dude because they just want to feel something, right? I'm pretty sure Hugh Hefner, something like that happened to him where like he started to get into like really weird shit toward the end of his life just because, he's Hugh Hefner. He can get any hot girl that he wants.
But so. Hugh Hefner, though, I see your point, and that is definitely possible. But Hugh Hefner, he was like really strict about his girls, even like sleeping with other dudes. It happened all the time at the Playboy house. But like he had like all these rules for the chicks and all that shit. He was like super controlling. That was the criticism a lot of the girls had.
I remember what happened with Hugh Hefner. I think somebody said something like he started watching like gay porn or something like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I never heard that.
The guy who brought porn to the masses. That's so crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's like, imagine if you're just like stimulated all the time from all of these women, like, I don't know, maybe you get to the point where you're just like, he probably didn't even enjoy it. He was just trying to find something like new. And it might just be the fact that he was like old and his dick didn't work anymore. I mean, who knows?
Well, the one thing I heard about the Playboy Mansion is they used to have this thing called the Gauntlet. So it was like they would like at the end of the night, they like 5 girls or 10 girls would line up by the pool and they would just bend over and you'd have to like fuck all of them. And the game was, could you get through all the girls without coming? Right. So you have to like, I don't know, like him and his friends would play this game. So you get like 5 pumps or 10 pumps and you have to make it through the gauntlet without busting a nut. That was like the name of the game.
Why don't we play that game in Miami? I'm not understanding. Like, come on.
In honor of so bring it back.
Yeah. All right. So Will Smith, he could definitely live that type of life. I mean, I'd imagine he could just call up Hugh Hefner and be like, "Yo, I want to play the Gauntlet game." Like, and he, for all we know, he probably did, right? So,
well, not anymore because Hugh's dead. That would be a very tough phone call to go through. Hi, can you get me through to Hugh Hefner? Sir, he passed away 3 years ago. I'm a celebrity. Patch me through.
That's how much of a legend he is. He just transcends the rest of us mere mortals.
Bring him back from the dead.
Yeah. No, but I think I don't think it's an extreme. Again, we're all just speculating here, but I honestly think what's most likely is that Will Smith knew exactly what was going on. He had it easy his whole life. in terms of women, and Jada Pinkett was a challenge for him. And yeah, I mean, he just wanted new novel experiences. I think that's probably entirely possible. All right, so we talked about Will Smith for enough. We could still talk about him, I guess, Huds, but I mean,
no, we're good.
Let's talk.
We're good.
Speaking of Hugh Hefner, let's talk about
And
another
talking about-
person.
Oh,
in that
that's a nice
yeah.
transition. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic segue. So I want to talk about Mia Khalifa because, as some people may not know, she was married for 2 years, ended up getting divorced, and renounced porn during that entire time.
Shamed porn, attack porn.
And now she returned to OnlyFans and then signed a contract with Playboy for their new app that's coming out, which is essentially OnlyFans and to combat OnlyFans. And so I'm going to open the floor to you guys, because the fact that she spoke so vehemently against it and then goes right back to it, I don't even understand.
It's gotta be a money thing. Like, I mean, just simple enough. Like, it's got to be about the money. Obviously, as much as she wanted to be principled about it, you know, maybe she could have done that when she was married to her ex-husband. But now that she's on her own again and she's got to make that money, like, and that's the way she knows how to do it, principles out the window, right?
Does anyone know why their marriage ended? I know how they met. I know that he slid into her DMs. I know that part because she
wasn't happy.
She wasn't happy.
That's what the media says.
And there's got to be more to it than that.
Well, she only had one dick for a long time, right?
Yeah. Have you seen her videos? She's used to having 2 dicks in her at the same time at once. And the fact
that was the porn industry taking advantage of her. She hated it. She never enjoyed it, man.
Oh, but that's a good point. Hold on. Maybe, you know, if you look at her relationships, so you can have a relationship with a business that's toxic, similar to how you can have a toxic relationship with somebody else. And, you know, like the most toxic relationships, it's always like this push, pull, break up, get back together again type deal. So, you know, maybe it's a similar thing with Mia Khalifa, where she's in this toxic relationship with porn, and it has to do with money, like you said, Brad, of like, it's like those golden handcuffs, right? The money is too good for her. Maybe she doesn't want to do it, but the money's so good, she like needs to come back. You know what I mean?
It might not be just the money. I mean, you know, like you're talking about toxic relationships. You've probably had friends like, I'm never talking to her again. It's over. This was the last straw. I'm done with it. It's the same way people talk about like a drug addiction, right? They're literally addicted. And then 2 weeks later, you see that they're with her and he was lying about it, right? Saying it was some other shit. So it could be that, right? It could just be that she was addicted to having lots of fun, casual sex, and the idea of being settled down after that, which is not tenable for her.
Honestly, Mia Khalifa, I think at the end of the day, is just a pretty shitty person. I mean, like, she spends years playing victim on the media, saying how bad, you know, no one in the porn industry really likes her. Like, they all, like all the other porn stars, when they asked about Mia Khalifa, they're always like, no comment. Like, they never say anything positive about her because she brought like a lot of bad press to the industry. So she spends years crying and playing victim. She says how she made no money. In reality, that's how she became a millionaire. So she basically lies. She said, I didn't make any money from porn. Yeah, directly you didn't make that much money, but indirectly you received all these sponsors and all this money on the back end that you would have never received if you didn't do porn. So super disgenuine. Says how porn is horrible, blah, 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 and then just goes right back to doing porn anyway. There's a famous interview where she went on this radio station, and I don't know if you guys saw this, and they were like introducing her, like super respectful, super nice. One of the things they said in the introduction is ex-porn star Mia Khalifa, and she started cursing them off because they mentioned that once upon a time she did porn. And then she dropped the call. She said, you guys are fucking assholes, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, what are we supposed to introduce you as? Like, you did
There's just the whole reason people know who you are.
Like, no one knows who
do you
you
think
are
people like care about your opinions?
Yeah.
Like,
so
right, maybe they do care about opinions, but like they know her through that. And by the way, Alex, you just shot yourself in the foot, man. You're never going to be able to interview her now.
She was never going to do it in the first place.
Dude, you should have just been a Sims. Be like, no, Mia Khalifa's a queen. She's amazing.
Once you get to 100K, you're good.
Once I get to 100K,
bro.
She'll be asking
I'm at 100K.
I think it does play into this whole victim culture that we have, you know, like this is this is just an extension of a deep problem within society. Absolutely nobody wants to take responsibility for their own actions ever, and even to the point that even if you just bring up a simple fact of like, okay, that's who you are, that's how you made all your money. Well, I can't even own that. Like what I've actually done, what is online for literally anyone to see. You can't say that about me. I'm not going to take that responsibility. And yeah, and this is just, you see this everywhere. And it's something that I personally think, especially for guys who want to get better at dating, it's something that they need to get squared away, is they need to start taking full responsibility for their lives and accountability for themselves if they ever want to improve. Because as long as you're a victim, you don't have the power, right? But that's by definition. I'm the victim. I don't have power to affect any kind of change that I want personally. So maybe Mia feels something like, well, I'm a victim. I don't have the power to leave the porn industry or whatever. And that's not my fault. I have to do this. Right?
I have to suck all this dick.
Yeah,
it's not my fault.
I don't even like it.
Cardi B, she had to, while she was a stripper, not making enough to survive, she had to rob and drug guys. There was no other way. It was all right. I think I would say the number one red flag is when dating a girl is that she victimizes herself too much. Like that's the number one. Like that means avoid her. Like maybe a one night stand might be fun, but be careful. Like be careful with those girls. They will mess your life up. The second one is that she's a sex worker of any kind. She's any kind. Like to me, like one night stand, they're great. But here's my experience. If they're on OnlyFans, they're a stripper, they've done any of those kinds of things, porn star, whatever. They learn that their value is entirely based on their sexuality and that they need to exchange their sexuality for money, for possessions, for things. And that programming of learning to manipulate trading sex for something else means that their relationships are not genuine and based on desire. They're based on an exchange of services almost. And that's what I've seen. I've seen multiple guys who dated strippers. And what ended up happening is they just ended up being supported financially. And their only thing to offer was sex, and they thought that's all they needed to offer to be a good wifey or whatever.
Well, let me ask the question: what if a girl does pole dancing but isn't a stripper?
I mean, that's not as bad as being a stripper, but it's in the like if your livelihood is purely based on your sexuality, that's a red flag to me.
So you're saying, okay, so if you use it as a job,
so were you saying like girls who are just into pole dancing for like fitness or whatever?
Yeah.
I
think
think
that's a little bit different.
Yeah, I think that's different.
Yeah.
I think
I've only been with a few girls within the sex industry. There's one Australian girl I met in Thailand who was an OnlyFans girl that was also a stripper. But dude, honestly, for her, I mean, maybe she had like some mental things, but she was just like an extremely sexual person. So I don't know if it's always, I don't know. Like I didn't know her super well enough to like dive into like her, like, oh, why are you a stripper? Why are you on OnlyFans? Like, did you have like daddy issues? Like,
But I think sex addiction, that's rare. Like that is some of them. If that's the case, that's you could argue it's better. But then if a girl's addicted to sex, also that means monogamy is going to be difficult for her.
Especially if you can't perform.
Yeah. Well, that particular girl, she had like a husband for a while.
Well, do you know if she was
I don't know. It's weird. I mean, she did get me, huh?
Do you know if she was faithful? Because having a husband doesn't necessarily mean that you're monogamous.
Yeah, I was literally
she was still friends.
Side story right now.
I was
just at the beer store today, and I was talking to a guy, and the guy that runs the place knows that I'm a dating coach, and the other guy that was stocking everything, he was like, yo, like whatever his name was, yo, like this guy can like help you out. And apparently this guy is dealing in that exact situation of having sex and driving an hour away to see this married woman. And he's trying to break up their marriage, but it's not working so far. So I don't know. Sometimes these things just kind of slide underneath the radar.
That's
that's where I draw the line personally for me is the home wrecker thing. Put ethics aside, they just think from a safety issue. I mean, look, Will Smith thing is a perfect example. There's a lot of different guys who are unhinged, right? So if Will Smith is willing to just slap you across the face for millions of people to see and basically ruin his entire reputation for you just making fun of his wife for being bald, imagine again, Will Smith is a bit different because we concluded that he probably gets turned on by guys banging his wife. But assume that he's like most guys that don't get turned on by that. The guy finds out that you're banging his wife. You put yourself in danger automatically at that point. That guy, like Avery, like you said a while ago, it's socially unacceptable to like beat your wife. So he's going to project all that rage onto that person, onto you. And all it takes is for this guy to, own a gun, want to use it, not have good self-control. And then in the wrong situation, you just end up dead, So I don't know. I'm like, to each their own if they want to go, bang guys' wives.
Don't give them your Instagram. Give them a fake, fake number.
Just be careful.
Just be cautious. Ask if she's in town. She's not in town.
Yeah.
You're probably good.
Jada, this
Coach
BJ
Corey
is pretty
Wayne.
good, but can you tell Will to like just stop jerking off? He's getting real close. Like, Will, we agree. You're gonna stay in the closet, man. Like, you're getting real close. Like, fucking elbow touching me and shit.
Yeah. So Coach Corey Wayne, I know we all have our opinions on him, especially the bottom.
Hi guys.
Yeah.
Coach
But
Corey Wayne here.
Put women in their place with your masculine energy.
Anyway, I remember this stuck with me. I don't know. It was some random video of his. He talked about how like he had this friend where basically that happened, where like he just his friend picked up a random girl at a bar, and they come back home. He finds out that she has a boyfriend. The boyfriend's staying there with a gun, has an argument with the girl, shoots the guy, then shoots himself. Again, these are extreme scenarios, but like, I don't know. Just be careful. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to scare you guys, but
I've been with a number of women with boys.
I got dark real quickly. I apologize.
Okay, so far.
Yeah, I've been in some weird situations.
It just happens. It's I think we all have our stories. I'm gonna hold mine.
Yeah, I mean that's not to say like who knows how many girls I've been with that did and they just didn't tell me or whatever. Like there's no way to know.
Back when I used to
I don't think it's your responsibility if they don't tell you. You have plausible deniability, right? You're just like, dude, I didn't know. I'm sorry. Like if I didn't know, I would have said no, right? Even if you would have still said yes, just say that you would have said no. But
I mean, I think even if they do, I don't think you're doing anything wrong, but it's a risk. Like, do you want to take that risk?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You get caught in the crossfire, and it's just not worth
exactly.
it.
Back when I used to
just
live
look
in
at
LA,
it again. I know this is a little
occasionally,
bit different, but I look at it as sort of like if you have an abundance mentality. I know that sounds kind of cringe saying that, but honestly, I mean, if you could bang any girl in the world, like, why would you mess around with other dudes' wives? You know what I mean? Just the reward to risk ratio. Obviously, nobody watching, unless you're a celebrity, Hollywood celebrity, you can't bang any girl in the world. But yeah, I don't know. I just the risk to reward thing, it just doesn't seem worth it.
When you've been going hard in the game, you need a new challenge, and that's a higher level challenge. It's like lesbians. There's an appeal to lesbians because it's like if you can pull a lesbian, like that takes an extra level of skill.
You sound like my buddy.
I mean, doesn't that mean that they're not actually a lesbian then? That's the same thing of like when somebody's like, oh, I'm straight, but then a thing happened and I ended up having sex with my best friend who's a dude. It's like, oh, so you're gay.
I think a lot of women say they're
No, it was a challenge.
10% straight.
That's
probably common.
Yeah, no, Huds, Avery does remind me of your friend. What's your friend's name again?
My friend's name is Hayden. So
Hayden, yeah, okay, exactly.
Wow.
So I actually thought originally when you said Hayden's going to be on, I thought it was going to be your friend. I was like, oh no, this is Avery Hayden, totally different.
yeah, but that all he does is try and convert lesbians. He's at that point where he's just so bored.
Are they lipstick lesbians or butch lesbians?
It doesn't
we
matter.
say butch lesbians.
I don't
That'd be
know.
hilarious.
Honestly, the lipstick lesbians are easier, but there's actually a reason to do it. The butch lesbians are much more difficult because a lot of them just hate men. Like they just do not like men. So if you can do that, that's impressive. It's more impressive, but also, like not hot.
But then you have to bang them. That's gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more of a challenge though. So, it depends.
It's all
I don't
about
wanna
the
get
challenge.
canceled
If you're a
bored.
competitive guy, you'll go after the most manly looking lesbian and they're going to be the toughest ones.
He's
Yeah,
done everything else.
if the butch lesbians hate men so much, why do they look, dress, and act like men? I don't get that.
That's actually very interesting.
I know I'm
right?
getting
I
canceled
don't
for that
know.
one, but it's okay.
Yes.
Well, maybe
not
it's
saying that, sorry about that.
it's envy. They're one of my favorite quotes is I think it's by Kierkegaard. Envy is secret admiration. So if for whatever reason, because a lot of the let's just say, for example, the stereotype of like the super LGBTQ plus third wave feminist, they're always talking about the patriarchy and male privilege this, male privilege that. They secretly envy men in general for some reason. So unconsciously, maybe they start to act that way because they secretly admire them. Maybe, I don't know.
Until you start putting personal responsibility on them like men have, then they don't like it.
Then they're like, oh, never mind.
Fuck this
Don't
shit.
you know how to treat a woman? All right, so let's talk about Mia Khalifa again. We went on a tangent there, but I think it was a
I
good
want
one.
to go back to that because like I find it so interesting, the whole thing. I think so. One of the things that like, I'll tell you guys my story. It seems very bipolar to me. And I had a relationship with somebody who was bipolar, like truly, actually. And I ended up getting arrested over it. So that flip-flopping of ideals and how they experience life is very dangerous. And it's very erratic. And I think that that's kind of what's going on. At a certain point, she decided, oh, I'm going to be a porn star. She had success, but then she got bored and she wanted to go to the new novel thing. And she figured, okay, that new novel thing means settling down. And then she got into a relationship, got married. And then enough time passed, she wanted the new novel thing. And then she divorced and she started doing podcasting. Then she wanted that new novel thing. And that new novel thing just happened to be porn again. Even though she didn't realize in her head she's doing the same thing that she did previously, but she is going to that next stimuli, whatever it is. It's interesting how their brains are able to segment every piece of their life. So they're able to segment, and she doesn't realize she's already done this, yet she's coming to the same exact thing again. That's how I view it.
I mean, do you think it's possible? Because I think, there's a fundamental part of the human condition where we're all driven by status, right? And I think with somebody like Mia Khalifa, I'm going out on a limb here and saying that most girls that get into porn are probably pretty insecure, and they're looking for some sort of external validation, and they do that through porn, and unfortunately falsely for a lot of them. So I think it's possible, just by the fact that she became a porn star at such a young age, she's the type of person that really is craving external validation. And maybe this is her way of trying to become relevant again. I mean, I remember, I don't know, I haven't really heard of Mia Khalifa for a while, and then this comes up, and now we're talking about her, right? So this is probably exactly what she wants. She wants people to talk about her, whether for good or for bad, because her insecurity drives her to try to, stay relevant.
Yeah,
Right.
I can comment on that. There's a story of how Mia Khalifa got into porn. Are you guys familiar with this story?
No, let's hear it.
So, no.
So Mia Khalifa, when she was growing up, there's pictures of her when she was like a teenager. She was actually chubby. She was not attractive. She was a chubster. So she always craved, and she admits this in interviews, she craved validation. And then she got her titties done, and she moved to Miami, actually, my area. And she was walking around the street one day with her big new tits, and some guy came up to her and was like, hey, you want to make some money? Here's my business card, and that's how she got in the porn industry. So some random dude approached her on the street in Miami after she got her fake big new tits. And that's how she got in the porn industry. So my first thing is like, does that actually work? Like, could I do this? But aside from that, I think it shows you that, yeah, like she does have self-esteem issues. Like that's why, she was chubster growing up, right? She feels insecure. She got her tits and she started getting validation. So that's why she jumped on the porn scene, because she could get more validation. And whether she still has those self-esteem issues is, kind of debatable. I would assume she does, unless she went to therapy and did some work on herself, which I doubt she did. It's possible.
Did she ever talk about having like daddy issues at all, or no?
She's not. I know she said that she doesn't talk to her family anymore. They cut her off because she's like strict, like they're like strict Muslim or whatever. So they were not fond of her like getting railed by a bunch of dudes. So I know she says that she doesn't talk to her family at all anymore. They cut her off.
That's very interesting because I think, because we can relate this back to how it. Oh, whoops, my camera died. Hold on. Real quickly, I think we can relate this back to how a lot of guys enter the PUA space or whatever. So with Mia, just assuming based on what you said, she probably didn't have that many guys paying attention to her, right? Women naturally, you're going to want the opposite sex to pay attention to you. So now that she got her boob job and everything, and she has all these porn directors saying how beautiful she is, and all these, I guess Pornhub comments saying the same thing. I think it's interesting because I don't know about you guys, but a lot of, I struggled a lot with girls in high school because I was very, very shy. Right. And then all of a sudden when I gained confidence and I noticed that, I actually had what it took to get girls to like me, I basically almost kind of like went on a rampage for a little bit. And maybe it's possible that in that same way that a lot of guys kind of go through that when they almost feel robbed of having girls throughout like high school, for example. Maybe it's a similar thing that Mia Khalifa went through with that. And she never got over that feeling of like feeling that validation. I mean, there's guys in our space, dating coaches within our space that are that way, where they're like, they weren't very successful in high school and they're in their late 30s and all they care about is bragging about their leg count. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Like,
no one comes to mind. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea who that is.
But
is he by any chance a very successful fake DJ? I don't know.
Kevin, one thing I want to say on this, just when
sorry,
you,
Alex.
when you think about this whole thing, she got the same attention though. Like when she became like a podcast host and did everything after porn, she still had the attention. So was it just not enough attention? I mean, she's making
probably, yeah. Well, I mean, her attention probably ebbed and flowed and stuff, right? I mean, no matter how much she's like taking a stance against porn, she probably wasn't getting the same level of like, because it was different, right? Because I think she was also, like Alex was saying, she was facing a lot of criticism for her viewpoints, probably more than praise. Even people who were praising her were probably still like, I don't know, whatever. They still probably didn't like actually believe her.
Dude, this would be like me once I hit my 100K, because that's going to happen soon. Like turning back in the pickup community and saying, yo, the PUA community fucking sucks. These guys are faggots, they like, yeah, it's like it's basically biting the hand that feeds you. It's like turning your back on the community that literally gave you its start. Because again, like no one would know who the fuck Mia Khalifa is, if it wasn't for the porn. Like she's not like an Elon Musk who has a bunch of different like things that they do. She's just like a chick who's got big tits and is good at getting fucked by a bunch of dudes. That's like her claim to fame.
She's really good at that, isn't she?
She's quite good. I mean, I've personally studied her work a little bit. In preparation for this podcast, I did a little research.
For science,
a little research. Yeah,
So I would say there's a metaphor with the attention thing. Imagine that you had a Lambo, and then you lost some money. You had to sell the Lambo, and now you got a BMW. How are you going to feel about the BMW? Right? You're going to feel like now I'm driving a piece of shit car because I'm used to the Lambo. So she's used to the porn level of attention, and now she's going down to the podcast level of attention, which is probably much lower.
Very interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting
That's
take.
a really good point.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever heard the hockey puck story with Mia Khalifa?
No, is this like some porn scene?
No. Dude, this is a crazy story.
The hockey puck scene.
Dude, this is a crazy story. So Mia Khalifa is like.
Did you find this during your research, Alex?
Nah, I've known about this for a while because like I interview porn stars and shit, so I do kind of follow.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
But she's a big hockey fan, so she was at a hockey game and a hockey puck went over, hit her fake titty, and her titty fucking popped, and she had to go into surgery and get her tits fucking redone or whatever because the hockey puck literally flew over, hit her titty, and her titty fucking popped. Like how?
Dude, God must hate her. What are the odds of that?
Like 1 in a trillion.
I think the universe was trying to kill her.
Yeah.
It was like some Final Destination shit.
Basically.
But if she didn't get the fake tits, she would have died. So God bless.
Enough.
It protected her.
Possibly.
Every woman
Let
should
this
do
be a
it.
lesson to every female out there. Get your tits done.
If you're watching
Moral of the story, get your titties.
public
You don't
announcement,
know. You just don't know when a hockey puck's going to
Moral
come.
of the story, big titties save
like a
lives.
bulletproof vest.
She made a deal with the devil, right? It's like, oh, these titties are gonna make you famous, but they're also gonna kill you. So you gonna take it? Yeah.
She's like, how famous are we talking?
Yeah. How famous?
But I have to say,
Yeah.
like, it's just like when you see signs like this, when we talk about lessons to learn, we see signs of going for the validation of others. That's not somebody that you want to go for. When we talk about relationships, you want to be with somebody. You want two people that are fully confident and happy in themselves to come together, and then you can share that happiness together. You don't want to have to pull somebody else up. And this is just one of those examples where, again, it's just they need somebody else to fill the void that they have inside themselves.
Is it possible that Mia Khalifa this whole time is just a genius marketer? Maybe this is her plan all along. She's like, I'm gonna go into porn. I'm gonna have this like.
If that's the case.
Yeah, I know, right? If that's the case, then it's like, holy shit. Damn.
But see, that's the thing. If that was the case, why would she string somebody along in a marriage and divorce? Like, that's just cruel.
Bigger picture.
Well, I didn't say she was a good person. I said she's a good marketer.
Yeah. Those don't
There's a
necessarily
difference.
go. There's not a correlation between great marketers and being a great person.
Yeah.
Fair
In
enough.
fact, a lot of good marketers probably,
Negative correlation.
I'm not going to make that statement. That's not fair. There's a lot of great marketers that are great people, but yeah. But I mean, basically, if you're a good marketer, right? Like, you understand people, so you can really like manipulate the crap out of them if you wanted to. So, maybe Mia Khalifa did that. Again, this is giving her a lot of credit. I mean, she would have to be like 150 IQ super genius to pull this off and be willing to like go through the turmoil of criticism and all this other types of stuff. But I mean, I remember actually, I think the reason she became so popular in the first place is because she did like this like Muslim thing, right? I remember the whole Muslim community was like very pissed at her.
I saw that porn in my own research.
Yeah, the first one. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I know.
You
All of
really
us know
prepared
exactly
well
what we're
for this
talking
one,
about,
didn't you?
including the chats.
Yeah, it was a hijab. She was wearing hijab while she was
Yeah,
doing
that
porn.
was the first. I
Yeah,
think the
yeah.
first girl to be like fucked on camera in a hijab, and
Yeah.
so yeah, a lot of people really.
She was getting a lot of death threats for that.
Mm-hmm.
And a
So
lot of
we
clout.
can at least
That
say
was
she
that
is
was
a
ballsy
little,
on her part. I will give her that. That
I
took
think
a
we
lot
can
of
say
balls.
she is hashtag stunning and brave, right?
Yeah,
I mean, she's hot
She's
as
very
fuck. I will give her
courageous.
that.
that was a courageous act of defiance against the Sharia law. That's
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly
in all
what
honesty,
she was
that
doing.
does
Yeah.
take a lot of balls.
No other reason.
Like, you are risking your life if you do that. Like, no one's ever done that. So I do got to give her credit for doing that. Like, that takes. a
I
lot of
mean,
balls.
all right, but is it so? It's either that, and she's like the super genius that was like making some stand, or she's just really dumb, and then some director was like, "Oh, this is gonna get us a lot of views." Like,
it's
hey,
the
put a
latter.
hijab
It's
on.
the latter. Yeah, she
It'll be
talks about
okay.
that.
Don't worry. Also,
Yeah,
I'm
it
only
wasn't
gonna pay
her
you like
idea.
$200 for this.
She is a
Yeah,
genius.
it was not her
producer.
idea. They basically found out that she was like whatever Middle Eastern on the porn set. And they're like, "Oh, it'd be funny if we put a hijab on you." And she's like, "I don't know, that can get me killed." And they're like, "Nah, dude, we'll pay you extra." And that's basically how it happened.
How much extra? $200?
That I don't know, but yeah, it was like probably
No, make it
1,000
make it
extra.
300. Okay.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm literally live talking about this. This is the most ridiculous.
Hey, you came up with the topics, bro. What are you talking about? You're literally like, yo, let's talk about Mia Khalifa.
We're not even talking about anything that controversial, honestly. I mean, that's pretty well established facts. And,
It's just funny. I actually want to touch on this though, if we can go into.
That's a
different
good
area.
one. That's a
there,
fun
there's
one.
no equivalent.
Oh
There's
my
nothing for men
gosh.
like fake tits. We don't have anything like that.
Because
Kevin, what
men, us as men, we're very visual. Women are more like emotional, like feelings, stuff like that. So it's how you
tell
make
that to the
feel.
black pillars.
Yeah,
bro.
first of all, a lot of people would debate that point. So
Yeah.
your
is your life, man.
The closest thing is steroids.
face.
The closest thing to that is steroids, and
Yeah.
even that is not going to be as close. We don't have anything like that, like fake titties.
So
get a fake dick, it's not going to be the same.
Maybe like a dick surgery. I don't even know if that's a thing, but then
It
you
is a
have
thing.
to
It is a
constantly be
thing.
erect
Girl,
so that like
usually a girl
girls can
doesn't even
see that
see
you're
it.
fat.
When
It's
she
like
sees
time
that,
to
it's
touch
too
that.
late. It's
Yeah.
already too late
Like,
when
she
she
already
sees
wants
that. Like that's she see like put a banana in your pants, see if that gets you. Like it's too late by that point. So I don't think
During the day, you pull out the banana and you start eating it. Like, hey, where'd you get that banana from? Oh, yeah, I just found it over here.
So I would actually ask Juan a couple questions because he's saying, what kind of surgery would men do to make themselves gain attraction? Well, first of all, how do you know you're not attracted to women? Like, how have you decided that? How many women have you asked on dates in the last year? How good are your Tinder pictures, right? Like, let's see what your reason for coming to that conclusion is. Like, you've approached a ton of girls and they reject you, or you just have gone through your life and hot girls aren't asking you out because hot girls didn't ask me out, and I thought, oh, therefore I'm ugly. That doesn't mean shit. Like women are rarely going to make move. Rarely make the first move. That's a societal standard that has not gone away. So that would be the first thing. And second of all, like I don't know, based on the way you're talking, I wonder what your charisma is out of a 10. Like, what is your charisma out of a 10? How positive are you? How fun are you? Like, when someone talks to you, do they feel like the soul is being sucked out of their body like a black hole? Or do they feel like, oh, I had a good time talking to him. I want to see more of him. Do women like you on a platonic level? Like, are they charmed enough by you that even though they're not attracted to you, they want to see you again only as friends? Like, you get their number and they really want to see you again. But then when you make a move, they're like, oh, I don't know about that. Or do they just not want to see you at all? Right? Because if you were charming, they could still like you as a friend, maybe not sexually, but if they're not liking you at all, then I would question maybe it's not some facial surgery. And also a lot of people get very ugly when they do facial surgery. So be careful with that. Like that can backfire.
Preach.
Yeah,
the
that can be
uncanny
a really
valley,
rough
right?
one.
Yeah.
But if you want to improve your look too, like, just improving the way you dress, improving the way you groom yourself, your hairstyle, all that can make such a ridiculous difference.
Is he ripped?
Here's another one too.
Is he ripped?
Yeah, exactly. It's like that's a perfect
He's probably
one.
fat,
Avery. People saying like, oh, like my looks or whatever. It's like, how much do you bench, bro? Do you bench at least 225 pounds?
50?
No.
One?
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. If you can't bench 225 pounds and you're just complaining like, I'm ugly. It's like, dude, shut up, man. It's because you're built like a twig.
I have a rule of thumb for the black pill. If you haven't been going to the gym and dieting for 6 months straight consistently at least, then yeah, shut the fuck up. Like you can't complain about your looks because you haven't even maximized them. It's just a rationalization.
Yeah. And it affects your face too. I've covered this a lot. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think kind of the theme is that what is a shortcut that men can take? And the closest thing we have is steroids, which are not that great, but that's the closest thing we have to a shortcut in terms of improving our SMV.
It'd also be a shortcut to the lifespan of your life as well.
Yeah, no, it's not good. I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying that's
shortcut to getting jacked and shortcut to having a long life as well. I want to bring this up because this is interesting. So women on Tinder and dating apps just definitely care more about looks, and real life charisma can get you through. Totally agree. I want to get your guys' opinion on something. So Avery, I saw you post I think it was a YouTube short of you basically showing that you just by simply changing your picture, you boosted your matches a ton. And so many different guys, they just they get disheartened because they go on Tinder and they post certain photos and they get no matches and it's like, oh, I'm ugly. A lot of times it's the pictures freaking suck, right? And here's one more thing. This is going to be a very controversial thing I'm saying, but you know how when you go on Tinder you see a lot of girls have filters and stuff on their face, and I'm not saying you should have a filter on your own face, but why not touch up your photos a bit in Photoshop? When you see a bunch of models, for example, right? Model pictures. I have some friends who are professional models or amateur models. All of their pictures are touched up. They still look realistic. They're professionally touched up, but they're still touched up. They still do some things to their jaw and their eyes to make them look slightly better than they really are. So I don't have a problem with guys doing that. And in fact, I think most guys should do that because girls are doing that. And then also the top guys on Tinder who are actually models, all of their model pictures are already touched up. So I don't know what your guys' opinion is on that.
I don't think that's controversial
you're the
at
online
all.
dating guys.
Yeah, I don't think that's controversial at all. I always say this: if you're like a 7 in your photos, you should look like a 7.5 or an 8. What most guys do is if they're 7, they look like a 4. Most guys look worse than they do in real life. Now, if you're a 7 and you look like a 10, you're going to get called out for catfishing, right? So you can't go 3 points higher, but you can go half a point to a point higher. And I think it's about time that dudes start playing the game that chicks do. Chicks are really good at using angles and lighting to make themselves look better. And dudes are notoriously horrible at that. And like if you want to be competitive in the online dating marketplace, you have to utilize angles and lighting in addition to boosting your SMV to get good photos. Like if you look at photos of me, I look better in my photos than I do in real life. Like I'm not bad looking, dude, but like I look better in my photos.
Well, this is a good point because
I know how to use angles and lighting.
This is something that if you hear, if you hear from a girl, it sounds good on the surface, but it's actually bad. If you meet a girl from Tinder and she says you look better in real life than in your pictures, that means your profile fucking sucks. I've heard that a few times, and at first it's flattering. You're like, oh, thank you. I mean,
I never get that.
You look worse.
I never get that. Like I've never gotten that.
No, that's perfect. That's good. Yeah. I mean, you're the online dating guy, right? Like,
that's like, yeah, something's a little different about you. You can't put my finger on it.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, I touch up my photos for dating apps, and I've also, hired photographers just off Craigslist just to take some cool shots of me. But also, too, remember that your pictures on online dating, it's not just about like your facial aesthetic, your body aesthetic. That is important, but also, like, especially for guys, girls want to see that you have a cool, fun life. So have pictures of you at cool places, doing cool things. That will go further, because a girl can just post a picture of her face and body and our testosterone will just go nuts. That's all we need, right? I don't care if, she's taking this picture of herself, at the Grand Canyon. Irrelevant, to me. I was like,
dude, it's crazy. To your point about that, when I moved to Vegas, I had, my standard, like I had like sort of like model like photos, and they weren't doing as well. And then I replaced them with one of the pictures was like with me and an elephant, and it's like a baby elephant, so I look like giant by comparison. But dude, all these girls, especially on Bumble, they would just open talking about the elephant, and I had so many more matches on that. It was dumbfounding to me, the fact that, and I think it depends on your location as well, because like, all right, how do you stand out? Well, you're in Las Vegas, it's the entertainment capital or whatever. You probably have a bunch of like freaking stripper dudes and Chippendale guys, all these model looking dudes. So like, how do you stand out from the crowd from that? It's like, oh, have a picture of an elephant. You and an elephant, you look more interesting.
So
at least that's how I view it. I mean, again, I'm not the online dating expert technically. So, Mr. Alex, I guess you are, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, lifestyle photos are great. I mean, what you're kind of talking about earlier is like having too many professional photos can work against you, and it's definitely true. It's not. This is why when people say, "Oh, just get professional looking photos," I always push back at that, because you need photos that look natural, and usually those are going to be lifestyle / activity photos. Photo of you like posing in a studio, that's not going to look natural. You can have like one photo like that, but not too many. So yeah, you do need photos where you look good, but you also look natural.
That's like, is this true, Alex?
Even photos of you starring fire alarms will look good.
It might be like such a pattern interrupt where people like be like, well, like they'll
this
be
guy knows how to install a fire alarm.
Hey, you know what? Stick to your strengths. Always play to your strengths.
Oh, definitely.
No, like it's true. Like one of the guys in my community, like he does a lot of that industrial work. So that type of stuff, like he's done it where he's like drilling together stuff on a house, and it works. It works. So
yeah, I saw that in some of Mia Khalifa's movie. Like the guy was just installing fire alarms, and then it seemed to work on her. So clearly, there's something to doing manual labor around hot girls. They get turned on by that. Because I've seen her work with a plumber. I've seen her work with a car repair person. They all seem to get her in the end.
Even pizza delivery,
Yeah, pizza delivery. Sometimes the pizza delivery guy puts his dick in the pizza, and that seems to work. He says it's like big sausage pizza. I don't know.
Oh my God. I can't. No, but yeah, with those types of things. And like, that's one thing that I tell my guys as well. Because I focus more on Hinge, but just doing this stuff, and you don't need to get a professional photographer, but just have somebody take a photo when you're out. Like, you're obviously going out visiting cool places. It's just that type of moment, that type of angle. It's totally fine. It's so simple to do. And I don't know why people don't do it. You don't need to spend
I've never tried
thousands of dollars.
What's your guys' take, especially I want to ask Alex, for online dating profile pictures, and the concept of like social proof. Do you want pictures of you with other girls in the pictures, or is that a no?
Generally, generally no. Generally no. That's a misconception. If you can pull it off the right way, then yes. But very few guys can pull it off the right way. So if it's a picture of you during the daytime at like a pool party, and it's not just like chicks, there's dudes, it's cool looking people, and there just happens to be girl, then yes, that is good. Most of the time, guys butcher. It's like a picture of them at a club, like hovering around girls. That's a bad look. It's not necessary. I don't have any social proof photos on my profile. It's not necessary. If you're going for like a threesome angle, then it's good. You just have a picture of you and a hot chick. But aside from that, generally speaking, no. But on kind of the point that you were making, Huds, is about why don't guys do that? I think the problem that I've started to realize in the last few years, a lot of guys actually don't do any cool shit. Like they just stay in their house. A lot of these guys, like I'll give them advice. I'll be like, hey man, I know you don't have any money, so just get one of your buddies to take photos of you. And the comeback is always this, but I don't have any buddies. Like, and I don't even know how to combat that. I'm like, well, that's an issue in of itself. So a lot of these guys, they don't actually like do cool shit. They don't actually have any friends. And that's like problematic in of itself.
That's a really good point, man. I think it's important because I was having this discussion with somebody today earlier of like, a lot of times we're trying to theorize like, oh, whoa, how do I get the girl? Like, what do I do to get the girl? And I think a lot of guys need to point the question back to themselves and be like, well, why do I deserve a hot girl? Like, because there's all these different, especially hot girls, all the guys want them. So like, what makes me special that the girl is going to choose me?
Except for Will Smith.
Right? Yeah, except for Will Smith. Yeah. But a lot of times guys can't answer that. They literally can't. They're just like, they just freeze up. And that tells you enough right there. It doesn't necessarily mean, or they start listing out very stupid things. Like, oh, I have a nice job.
Legend rating?
Who the fuck cares, man?
Yeah, they're not
when it
I have
comes
a high
down to
ranking in Apex Legends.
Yeah, keep it simple and logical, like you're saying. A lot of guys will get caught up. They want the shortcuts. Human nature, I guess, but especially in our modern society where everything is so instant. We want the 3 magic texts you can send that will make her wet. But it's really, it's like the question, like you said, you want to bang hot girls. What do you have to do? Is like, well, you have to become the kind of guy that hot girls want to bang, and just learning a couple lines. Mixing up your photos on a dating app. No, like you need to have friends. You need to have a cool life. You need to know how to socialize. You do need to be attractive. Like you do need a good job. Like, you can't be broken homeless. Maybe some PUAs would disagree, but in general, it's like,
man, I'm broken homeless right now. I'm fine.
There you go. And Kevin's doing fine. So, but
actually, technically, I'm in monk mode right now. So maybe.
It's not. I'm gonna do this one thing. I won't have to get up off the couch. Like no, like you need to have a good life. Like a well-rounded life at least. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like some guys will be like, well, I'm never gonna be that guy that has 100 friends and a multi-million-dollar job. It's like it doesn't need to be that. Like
just have 3 or 4.
Well, again, I mean, it's
any friends.
Yeah, and again, it's important to remember too, because we can't help as men to like project what we think, what we find valuable in other men. Of like, oh, well, this dude's cool because he's rich and has all these things. That's not going through a girl's mind, man. A girl is just going based off, does this guy give me good feelings? So what the hell is that, right? It's just that there's a strong correlation between guys who are successful and have high status and giving those girls good feelings, because it's really hard to get these two things. It takes a man of high moral character be able to achieve high status and a lot of money. So it's very likely that they're also going to be able to, they're going to have the same character traits that women are attracted to as well. Again, unless
high moral character. Sorry. It takes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if it takes high moral character. It takes other qualities, but you can be very immoral and be very rich.
No, it's not just moral, because
women find evil men attractive a lot of the time.
I saw a video.
No. So there's different.
I watched that.
Yeah, there's different character qualities. I mean, as I'll change my battery pack in a second. But, no, but this is my true form, guys. Anyway, no. So Aristotle has, basically everything I talk about on my channel is based on Nicomachean Ethics by Aristotle, but he makes a differentiation between moral virtues and practical virtues, right? So you can have these practical virtues of being, very witty, for example, right? There's no value judgment ascribed to that. There's a bunch of evil people that are very, very witty, right? So I do think you don't necessarily have to be like this paragon of morality and ethics. Women will still be attracted to you if you have some of those practical virtues. So to your point, Avery, is there's a lot of different guys who are, you know, very ruthless, cunning, or whatever, but they end up seeing a lot of success still. And, you know, regardless of that, it's still very difficult to achieve that success. So I think more so like women probably sexually select for practical virtues from that standpoint. But I think if you want to actually attract a high quality woman into your life and not a low quality woman, that's where morality kind of comes into place, I think.
We got some troll spam in the chat. Naked,
like Mia Khalifa's posting it.
Yeah, Mia Khalifa heard her.
Hey, you should come on.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna change my battery pack. Continue, guys.
So I want to say on that, you can find success acting that way, but success and happiness are two very different things. So if you have success with women, you're not exactly going to have happiness in your life.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think you're going to have more happiness than if you're not, right? It's like,
sure.
It doesn't solve
100%.
the problem, but it's like being poor, it's still going to be a lot worse and a lot more stress. So it's being good with women. It doesn't solve all your problems or your internal issues or all that, but like what's it called? The pyramid of needs, right?
Yeah,
Maslow's pyramid. Yeah. Like it helps. It helps. It lowers your stress, increases your good experiences. But there's like we have this expectation it's going to make us happy, like in the capital letters, and it's not going to do that. But it'll make you less miserable.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like once I got better with women, I didn't all of a sudden become happy, but I'm definitely happier than when I wasn't good with women. You know, the more money I make, it doesn't make me happy, but I'm happier than when I had less money. Yeah. You know, if that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
guys
need
to movie seemed real happy.
Very, very happy. I think guys need to, this is where the philosophy part comes in. I know, like cringe, Kevin always bring it back to philosophy, but like, you know, really what it comes down to is, all right, well, why do you want women in the first place? I think it's an important question to ask. And it seems obvious, right? It's to be happier. It's to have them bring some sort of value into your life. And then this is why I don't necessarily take a moral stance against like prostitution, for example. So a lot of guys that I talk to, especially the black pillars, are just like, oh, well, dating is hard in the US. Just go overseas and pay for it. It's just like, that's not going to solve the problem that you think. The immediate first consequence of that is, oh, I got laid. I struggled to get laid, and then I got laid. But that's not, most likely, that's not really the reason that like you want to get laid. You want something deeper. You want it to bring some kind of fulfillment into your life. And to speak about Aristotle, the Greeks believed in these different concepts of happiness. One is hedonia, so hedonism, which is just pure carnal pleasure. But then another form is something called eudaimonia, which is basically like this feeling of fulfillment, joy of what you're doing, right? And I think if you attract low quality women into your life that are nothing but a headache, even if they're hot, you know, 95% of the time, even like you're probably not going to be banging her, right? There's only so many nuts you can bust per day. So you better actually like kind of like enjoy being around them.
Speak for yourself.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe I'm telling on myself there. It's like, oh,
when you run out of nuts, you get your son's best friend to come in.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah. You just tag in Tupac and he'll do the work for you. But yeah, I think that's really important for a lot of guys in the space because, you know, they come into the space, they Google or YouTube, you know, how to get the girl, whatever. They're in a place of pain. And I think a lot of times they think that simply just getting laid is going to like cause their pain to go away. And I don't think that's necessarily always the case. I remember when I first got into the PUA type stuff, it was because I had like this really tough breakup with it in a toxic relationship. I went over it in my video called Rejection. And the first time I got laid after that, which was 9 months after the breakup, I remember I was watching like RSD videos and stuff, and I even bought a course. And I felt freaking terrible after I banged that girl because I built up in my head, oh, if I'm able to have sex and, you know, I'm able to break this culture, I'm going to be happy. And you build it up in your mind and it doesn't happen. Huds, I don't know if this happened to you, but guys who I've helped lose their virginity, a lot of times after they lose their virginity, they're fucking miserable and almost like, I wouldn't say they're suicidal, but it's close. And I think the reason is because they built up in their mind saying, me simply just getting laid is going to solve all my problems. When it actually happens, they realize that that's not the case, and then they're like fucking lost. Has that happened with
It's like
the guys you
children
know?
with dynamite. I was literally talking to Brad about it earlier. It's awful.
crazy,
and
right?
I don't know how to help them. I don't know how to help them. I've tried, but like it's like all of a sudden once success starts happening, they're like, I should be Zeus. Why am I not Zeus? And they can't figure it out.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the expectations type things.
Yeah, well, it's you have to enjoy the journey, not the destination type situation. Like, what's going to make you happy overall throughout life is consistently, leveling up, solving your problems, and enjoying, the ride, and in choosing, good directions to take your life into. You want to be solving good problems. Shout out to Mark Manson for that. That's where I learned that. Like, choose good problems that you want to solve. And it's in solving them that you will become happier. But it's not like, oh, once this one problem is solved, then happy. That's not how it works. Man. It's in the process of solving it. So like the guy who loses his virginity, right? He's probably happy in the process of losing. He's like, oh my God, I'm doing this. Is so amazing. But then once it's lost, he's like, oh, I thought it was the destination that was supposed to make me happy. Yeah. But now that he already did that, he has a new set of problems, right? That he needs to
like what now?
Tackling.
Right? It's why retired people, there's some crazy statistic of how many people die after like 3 years within them retiring because they lose their purpose, right? So, yeah.
I mean, if the goal is to maximize happiness as much as possible, three things, the best things you can do is 1, fix vitamin and mineral deficiencies, so you produce more serotonin and take amino acids. 2, work out, because then you release a lot of endorphins. And 3, get a dog. Those are all scientifically proven to help you boost your happiness, probably a lot more than
Well, still, no, all this to say, like, your ability to be happy will increase if you know that you are an attractive man to women.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So that's why still I'm not making a statement of like, oh, don't learn game or don't learn seduction or anything. It's more so manage your expectations in the sense of don't just think that once you finally get laid that all of your life problems are going to go away. Right. That's why, for example, like I'm very careful with guys that I collab with, or I say that is like, are good dating coaches, because, a lot of guys have that message of like, just get laid and all your life problems are going to be solved. Like, it's like, no.
Well, I think a lot of it also depends on your individual brain chemistry and like the way your mind works. Like for some people, like after they bang 10, 20 girls, they get absolutely no pleasure from each new lay. Like that's why they get into relationships, or maybe they quit game. For some guys, after hundreds of chicks, they still receive a ton of pleasure. Some people get a lot of pleasure from long sessions of tantric sex or group sex, and some don't. So it's just like
here's the thing with that: you're never going to know that if you can't get laid in the first place.
Right.
So if you're theorizing about all these different things, this is where the black pillars, freaking piss me off. They're theorizing about all these different things about happiness or whatever. It's like, dude, you need to at least know that you can get laid, right? At least know that you can, and then that way you know that your actions aren't just a giant cope. Avery, you're talking about Maslow's hierarchy a while ago, right? It's like, who knows what actions you're like unconsciously taking. For all you know, you could be thinking that you're like, achieving or going after something great, but in reality, unconsciously, it's just a way for you think that that's going to get you more pussy, right? So for example, like starting a thriving business or whatever. And then so you start the thriving business, and then all of a sudden some girl like comes into your life, and then she just fucking ruins all that because you start simping for her, right? So like learning the ability to be an attractive man to women, being able to communicate effectively, just having that internal conviction and belief that you can get laid when you want to with attractive girls, that is one of the most powerful things you can ever learn, right? And until you actually have that self-belief in yourself, the best way to do it is to actually experience it a few times. At that point, it's like, that's when you know that the things you're doing, you're actually doing with authenticity.
So. Kevin, that's really interesting that you put it that way, because I think for me, on some level, that was always what I was, and I was even like somewhat aware of the fact that that's what I was chasing. I wasn't chasing trying to get laid by a beautiful woman. I was chasing knowing that I could do it. And that to me was always more important. I always figured like, look, as long as I know, I can do this, then even if I'm not like getting laid or I'm not in a relationship or whatever, you know, my situation is, at least I know I can. And that does add a big layer of, you know, like contentment or satisfaction to life, because I'm not constantly anxious about that.
Yeah.
And that way
Yeah,
you can prioritize your life. Yeah. Go ahead, Alex. Sorry.
No, for me, I remember when I was younger, like not being able to get laid made me miserable. Like I was so obsessed with it. It was like a constant obsession. I couldn't even enjoy like normal things because I was so obsessed with like I can't get laid, I can't get laid. Like I would be at a party and I'll be thinking like fuck, pussy, pussy, pussy. It's like being starving, you know. It's like
Yeah.
I don't know, like it's being
That's
like
exactly
a starve, like you haven't had food in a long time. All you can think about is food. But once you start eating regularly, you know, the individual pleasure that you get with each meal is a lot less. You know, there's some meals that are really good, right? But you know, the individual meal is less. But like, you need to be able to eat regularly in order to get your mind off food and focus on other things. I think it's like that with pussy too, and that's when I see like all these like I don't know fucking black pill guys who like backwards rationalize the fact that they're not getting pussy, and I'm like, you're doing all these mental gymnastics to basically justify your inability to get pussy. I don't know.
If you're doing it out of choice, I think it can actually be honorable. Like monks, they choose not to get laid. They're probably happier than most guys who do get laid. They're not in toxic relationships. They're probably feeling great about it. But
yeah, but I bet those monks
anything
are
out of
fucking
choice, it's when you're a victim, right? That's when you're miserable, when you feel like a victim. So it's like, I'm not going to diet, even though I know I'm a fat piece of shit. I'm not going to diet because my genetics mean I can't lose weight. Then you're going to feel fucking miserable because you're a victim, and that's what causes, I think, depression more than anything is the feeling of learned helplessness. You've learned that you're helpless. You're not in control of your life. And yeah, you're not totally in control of your life. But as soon as you believe you have zero control, which is the whole black pill philosophy, I guarantee there are a lot of suicides within the black pill.
Yes, we should do a social experiment where we combine our resources. We hire Mira Khalifa. We send her into a monastery with a bunch of monks, and we see how disciplined they really are.
See if she can throw down the gauntlet.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna call it there. That's a great idea.
Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Social experiment. That video go viral.
That would go really viral.
Except we probably can't post it on YouTube. We're gonna have to post it somewhere else.
Collab.
Yeah, to the new Playboy thing. Playboy Confidential.
Screw that, man. Playboy died with Hugh Hefner.
Yeah.
Just let it die.
Now there's fat girls and gay guys on the covers. Like I
heard about
Victoria's Secret. It's basically the new Victoria's Secret. Same thing as that.
What? There's just a bunch of fat girls now.
Look at Victoria's
like
Secret models. Yeah. It's ruined. It's over.
Oh Lord. Well, anyways, this has been absolutely fucking fantastic. I want to go around and have everybody share what's coming up in the future. And I'll do a closeout at the end, but let's start with you, Brad.
Yeah, start with me first because I don't have much yet. I'm just getting started with all this. But if you guys want to contact me, you can add me on Instagram, 50 Shades of Brad. I'm getting my YouTube channel set up. Just didn't have enough time to get it verified before today's stream. But yeah, I'd love to talk about mindset, development, just as a man in general, your dating. I've been divorced, so if you guys have been married, coming out of that, I know what that's like. But yeah, just hit me up and let's just chat.
Cool.
Beautiful.
All right. So I guess, am I next?
Go ahead, Kevin.
All right. Yeah. So I have a few really big things coming up. First of all, I have a really big video about pickup artistry coming out next week. The bottom two guys, I shout you guys out in that video. And then, so I have that. And with this channel in general, I'm just going to try to be doing regular streams on Sundays with these guys, as well as just having like one high quality video come out every week. But I'm also starting a shorts channel soon. I hired a shorts guy, and we're just going to be making a bunch of different shorts videos. So when that comes out, be sure to subscribe to that. I'm turning to the dark side. I'm going to be starting a TikTok as well. I freaking hate it.
It's
worth it. TikTok, but I got to do it, right?
You can repost, so.
Yeah, exactly. So more the short form type of content is going to be on there. On this channel, I want to make sure that everything's like super high quality. Like anybody who comes across any of my videos, every single time they're going to be like, damn, that shit was fire. That's what I want with this channel. But on the shorts channel, I'm just going to be spamming shit. I don't care. Like I might just like go on and just like talk about whatever. And if it blows up, it blows up. If it doesn't, I don't really care. So For those of you who want to see more of my content from that standpoint, be on the lookout for that. So, all right. Anyway,
Beautiful.
go ahead.
Beautiful. So what I have coming up, obviously I do this dating coaching and I do month to month with people. I also do intensive programs of like 6 weeks. I actually have a course coming out at the end of this month. I think it's April 25th, and it's going to be on BDSM. So that one's going to be interesting. So if you're interested in that, I'm doing that in collaboration with others, and it's going to be an entire course plus a 3-hour Zoom call. So look out for that. And you
Dude,
can find
Raw Dog Ralph is really pumped about that.
I'll be doing all of the modeling.
Like, I didn't see him at all in this chat ever, and then all of a sudden you talk about BDSM. He's like, "Ooh, fire emoji."
Oh, Raw Dog Ralph.
I think you got a customer right there, bro. Raw Dog Ralph.
But yeah, so just probably the best way to connect with me is through the IG below, and then we can go from there. All right, I'll throw it to you, Avery.
My YouTube is the same as my little name here, a.g.hayden. One thing that makes me unique is I post actual hidden camera footage of myself approaching women. So you can see I show failures, I show successes, I show everything in between. And then I break down why I do what I do, because theory is great, but there's a lot of guys who talk theory, but they've never actually lived the life and had success by approaching women themselves. So I think that's an important way to distinguish which one of those you are. Unlike, say, Coach Corey Wayne, I pick up all the bitches. Okay, sure you do, buddy. Or TripAdvisor, I guess I'm just naming names, but so you can check out my channel, and then my website is modernseduction.com. I have articles, I have exclusive content there, and check that out if you're interested.
Cool. Aside from my Mia Khalifa monk monastery project that I got going on, which I'm taking very seriously, aside from that, I got my channels Playing with Fire, so we do practical, no bullshit dating advice. We're coming up on 100K, so if you guys are watching this and you're not subscribed, I would really appreciate it if you just support the channel and smash that subscribe button. That would mean a lot. But yeah, we're just dropping practical, no bullshit videos. We got more debates coming up. I've been having a lot of fun with debating various people. So we got some more red pill debates, some blue pill. We're going to be debating some feminists. I've been doing a lot of that. It's been fun.
I look forward to the feminists. That's the one that sounds most exciting to me.
Yeah, this one feminist wrote to me and she was like, "Hell yeah, I'm down to debate you." I was like, "Okay, cool. Yeah, blah blah blah." I'm giving her some days. She's like, "Oh, actually, it's Ramadan's coming up and I'm not allowed to do any debates." I'm like, "Jesus fucking Christ! All right, I'll fucking debate you after Ramadan, you fucking white chick. You're not even religious at all, just doing this for cultural appropriation." All right. But yeah, so I do a lot of stuff like that. We got a TikTok. We do shorts as well. But yeah, so we got a lot of good stuff. So check it out.
Surprised you're not banned from TikTok yet.
Yeah, man, me too. Honestly,
it's coming.
Don't jinx it.
Hopefully not.
No, but join while you still can. Make sure
I worked hard on my
while you
TikTok,
still
so let's
can.
hope not.
Beautiful. Well, thank you to everybody. We're going to be doing this weekly, whether it is the same 5 right here or we're going to be doing a rotating panel. We'll see. We'll keep you guys updated. But thank you for tuning in.
Let's get Will Smith and Mia Khalifa on.
Yeah.
And a bunch of monks.
Make it happen. You have the biggest channel, Alex. You're the one that can make it happen.
I mean, I'm not 100K yet. So I'm not, once I get to 100, I think I can do it.
That's when you'll finally be happy, right?
That's
the goalpost.
Okay.
All right. Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Later, guys.